Hi everyone, it's Brian Charette. Please hit subscribe if you like these lessons. These following examples on the bebop scales and then bebop scales harmonized are in C, but on your own, work out what they are in all 12 keys for full mastery. Okay, thanks a lot everybody. Hope you like the lessons. Hi everyone, so I wanted to talk a little bit about bebop scales. There are 3 different bebop scales. One for major 7th chords, one for dominant 7th chords, and one for minor 7th chords, which are most of the chord qualities that we're going to come in contact with when we're playing bebop music, which is jazz, very much popularized by Charlie Parker, some people say. Some people also say Thelonious Monk. These are the people that invented bebop. Miles Davis was there. Around 1944 is when it first came into prominence. So the bebop scales are built from modes. So let's say we have a C major 7th chord, which is C, E, G, and B. Our bebop scale is going to be the major scale with the addition of a G sharp. Okay? This extra note gives the scale a little bit of chromaticism. It also adds a little rhythmic flair when it's going by in a hurry. Also, you will see that in practice, a lot of these bebop scales are played going down. So they will be approached by some sort of arpeggio. In this instance, I'll arpeggiate a C major 9, which is E, G, B, and D. That's the 9th. Then come down the bebop scale. That's a very common way to hear this. Okay? So again, C major scale with the addition of this G sharp. Okay? I'm going to show you minor now because the minor one is the same scale, but the only thing that changes is this E changes to an E flat. See how that works? And we can treat it the same way. We're going to play a minor 9 arpeggio in our right hand now. So that's E flat G, B flat D, which are the same notes we had in C major 7th. We just flatted the 3rd and flatted the 7th. Oops, sorry. Okay, so the only difference is when we come down now, we're going to come down on this E flat. See how this is already starting to sound like that idiom of bebop music. A lot of triplets too. So on these last 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and here's beat 1. And it's already starting to have that kind of bebop phrasing. Okay? So again, the difference between the major and the minor bebop is just this 3rd note. This is the major one. This is the minor one. Okay? Dominant bebop works over chords that have a natural 3rd and a dominant or flatted 7th. This is basically the Mixolydian mode with the addition of this chromatic note, the B. This is actually a very popular one, maybe the most popular of all the bebop scales, and you will often hear people do this something like this. That's a chromatic sound that we're going to talk about in a second. But this little half step is always happening between the 7th and the flat 7th. Again, we can do the same kind of 9th arpeggio that we were doing in the other chords. So this was the C major 7th we did, remember? So for dominant harmony, the only note that's going to change is the B is going to go to a B flat. Okay? Major, minor, dominant. So you can get the same kind of flavor on whatever harmony you're specifically going for, whether it's the major, the dominant, or the minor. Now, one more thing to add when you're playing bebop, you can get a lot of mileage out of just having these bebop scales with the combination of one other thing, which is chromatic embellishment. I learned chromatic embellishment from the Berkeley method of the 5 devices, they call it. So let's say we have a note C. There are 5 ways that we can approach this note. The first device is from half step below. The second device is 2 half steps below. The third device is half step above. The fourth device is 2 half steps above. Okay? The fifth device, which is the most commonly used, is every combination. So that was 2 below and 2 above there. You can do 2 below and 1 above. You can do 1 below and 2 above. Okay? So if you start mixing these chromatic embellishments with the bebop scales and the arpeggios with a little bit of this triplet rhythm thrown in, you start to have bebop lines. So check this out. I'm just playing a C minor, C Dorian, C minor 9 bebop riff. And my left hand, I'm playing in an older shell kind of style that Bud Powell made very famous, okay, which is just the root in 7. I start my line out with the 5th device. So I want to start doing this arpeggio, just like we were doing in our first exercise, going up the minor 9 arpeggio, which is E flat G, B flat D. This is my target note, and minor thirds are a great target note in any kind of Dorian soloing. It's a note that really defines the mode that you're in. It lets the listener know what kind of chord you're playing. Just with the root in the 3rd, you can tell. Okay? So I'm going to approach this E flat using the 5th device, which is a half step below and 2 half step above. And then I'm going to keep playing my arpeggio up. So check it out. So far, we've done one of the 5 devices, the 5th device. Now we're going to do an arpeggio, and then we're going to just come down the minor bebop scale. When you put it together, whoops, sorry, you have a good sounding bebop line. Okay? If we were going to do the same thing over a dominant 7, we could still use the same methodology. We'll do the 5 devices, approaching the major 3rd this time. And then we come down the bebop scale. So we're combining 3 things again. We have one of the devices, in this instance the 5th device. We're going to leap up with an arpeggio of the 7th chord to its 9, which is E, G, B flat D. And then we're just going to come down the appropriate bebop scale. Remember, bebop scales are very often moving down. And over dominant 7th chords, that's the bebop scale. So let's look at this one. And it starts to sound like bebop. So this is what we've covered so far. 3 bebop scales. The major one with a G sharp if we're in the key of C. The minor one is the same scale except the 3rd is minor. And the dominant is a mixolydian mode with a natural 7. Okay? So far in our lines, we're going to do one of the 5 devices and realize that you can use the 5 devices to approach any strong note in a chord. If this is a C minor 9 voicing, that's a very popular one. So this is my target note, the tonic, and I'm starting on a B natural, I'm going through the C, and then I'm using 2 notes above, even though I'm playing them in the reversed order. That's still the 5th device. My arpeggio, usually with a triplet, and then coming down the minor bebop scale. And this is how you start to make your bebop lines, okay? So when you're practicing a song, like this one, here's a very good Charlie Parker song, Moose the Mooch. I highly recommend getting the Omnibook, which is where all of Charlie Parker's solos are analyzed. And you will see that he's using just these techniques. He's doing arpeggios, he's coming down the bebop scale, and there's actually a syllabus in the back that has all the scales too, okay? So I hope you like this video, you guys. Next video in the series, I'm going to start harmonizing these bebop scales with block chords, okay? So I hope you stick around for that. Thanks so much again.